People want teams like this, but people would never be willing to go through the shit that we are with our team. And they would never be there for each other the way that we are. They would never withhold or like withstand the pressure. Because I think there is a lot of pressure. All four of us put a lot of pressure on ourselves. The team who's recently joined are kind of seeing that that's the standard. Like, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. Welcome back. Today I have a very special guest with me, Queen Bee, Brandi, the person in charge of our Director of Ops at The Wealthy Practitioner. And I wanted to invite her in to the studio today where we work at HQ to do a podcast because so much has changed for us since she started working for me 2 years ago. I can't remember the last time we had her on the podcast. I think it was a year ago because we did a recap of our first year working together. And so I think this just needs to become an annual thing. It was 2 years ago yesterday when we're recording this that we actually hosted Scale Up. She had been working for me, I think, all of like 11 days when we hosted our first in-person event. And not only have we changed as individuals, we definitely have changed our roles inside of the company. Who we are at this stage is very different than who we were 2 years ago. Who we have to become is going to be very different to get to the next level. And I know that my crew, my clients always really love hearing her perspective of things. And I think there's a lot for not only founders and visionaries to learn from this episode, but also a lot for like your team to understand what it's like to support a big vision. So welcome.
Thank you. I am so excited. I feel like I have such a amazing side view of like your growth that most people don't get, because I get to see in real life, you really work on your mindset. Like you tell everyone to do these things, but it's like, I get to see you pushed up against your edge and push like up against the wall and be like, no, I'm not backing down. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking to who I am, and like coach yourself through so many moments. And it's like such a gift to see that like you truly are who you say you are, and to see how you lead your life, because you are a permission slip, not just for your clients, but also for your whole team, right? That is any business owner that we get to work with, like you guys have such a special place in so many people's lives. You aren't just like a boss, like you need to own that power of like, I get to impact. Like I think that you should really put your employees top of the line of like, I get to impact them. They are most important. And then come your clients, then come your patients, because that's like the magnitude, and those are the dividends that are going to pay, right? You always remember a good boss, and you also remember a bad boss. And sometimes we're bad bosses to people, right? Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of the situation. But it is such a gift, and I look forward to speaking about how you've changed and evolved, because I don't think people get to see the full picture, and not everyone should have permission to, right?
Mm-hmm. Not everybody gets access to this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You need to protect that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's such a good point, even before we dive into it, you saying like, you see me coaching myself in real time. I don't just get brushed up against an edge and are like, oh, this is terrible. I might like spaz out for a minute. I might be like, WTF is going on? Wait a minute, what's this teaching me? What's the lesson here? And like, because I'm such a verbal processor, I'm thinking like 3 weeks ago when we were sitting at HQ and I was like, wait a minute. And you were like, oh, something good is gonna happen. Like, let me get granola on.
Let me get the DJI.
Let me get the DJI. Like, what's she gonna say? Because I was like, I just had a moment of clarity. I just had a download where I realized why I've had to go through the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. I realized why things have felt so challenging, or like internally I've been shedding layers and layers of things. And so you do get a very firsthand sneak peek at that. And you are what I like to refer to, which we can talk about when we get to like the operations build out, is that you are my thinking partner. You are somebody that I run a lot of ideas by. You're somebody who I verbally process to, sometimes like in a spiral, like here's exactly what I'm thinking and feeling, and sometimes you talk me off the ledge. And I think for big visionaries and founders, if you don't have somebody on your team that you have that level of trust with, it's going to be really hard to have growth with. Because I know when I bring things to you, you're not judging me as a leader, you're not judging me as a boss, you're not judging me as a mentor.
And I'm not judging you as a mother or a wife.
Totally. You're not judging me in general.
Whatever. Exactly.
And it's like, that's a safe space where I don't feel that I I'm not just going to go to somebody on the internet. I'm not just going to go to a client. It's really you, Kyle, and Callan are my sounding board of like people that I go to if something's really bothering me or I feel like I'm being brushed up against an edge or if I'm struggling with something. It's like I'm asking you guys for your perspective. And so that is one, an honor, right?
It's such a gift. I like have tears in my eyes. Because you've never said that. Like when I think of like Callan and Kyle, I'm like, they're up on the mountaintop.
Yeah.
But to see like that's where you see me, like it's such a gift to hear that. And because I know that in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. Like for the people that are team members and employees listening to this, like you guys get to be that, right? Like you guys get to have so much impact and like you get to make your life what you want and your career what you want, and you can be that for your boss too. Mm-hmm. And that is like such a gift.
But you've earned that because I've brought things to you and you've helped me problem solve and you've helped me pivot. You've helped me realize where I'm not seeing the power and the strength in myself. You know, there's been times where I've been like, oh my God, somebody said this online, or like, what do you think about this email we just got? And you're like, Stephanie Wigner, do you know who the fuck you are? Like, do you know who you are? Do you see all the lives that you're changing? Do you see all these people who literally will never be the same because they talk to you for 10 minutes? Do you see the impact that you really have? Do you see these rooms that you're commanding? Do you see what you're actually doing? And I think sometimes I don't, transparently. I'm like, oh, everybody could do this. Anybody could do this, And there was a moment recently where we messaged the core four, which is me, you, Gabrielle, Nikki, like the four that have really been a part of TWP since TWP was created. And I was like, people want teams like this, but people would never be willing to go through the shit that we are with our team. And they would never be there for each other the way that we are. They would never withhold or like withstand the pressure. Because I think there is a lot of pressure. All four of us put a lot of pressure on ourselves. The team who's recently joined are kind of seeing that that's the standard. Like we hold ourselves to a higher standard and we want everybody to meet that. But there just have been so many unique things of all four of us and now the whole team growing together, especially over the last 18 months. And so I kind of want to dive into that. So before we started recording, I was like, okay, when did you and I realize that we could not do everything? And I think shit started breaking in January of 2025 when we had, at the time, our biggest launch ever. And it was me, you, Gabrielle, and Nikki, and one VA that had worked for us for like a week and that we ended up firing. Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of crazy if you think about that, because I'm like, it was our biggest launch. It felt so big. I'm like, how much was that? 500,000?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, oh, I would love, give me all the $500,000 launches. But I'm like, that's nothing compared to what we've accomplished. But in those moments, we were like, a lot of things started to break, right? Mm-hmm. We had a pop-up and the weather was horrible. It was snowing. It was icing in Texas. And the infrastructure is not there, but Steph, you kept saying, we're just going to get there. We're just going to get there. Gabrielle got there. Nikki got there. We were like, whatever, we're going to figure it out.
We're like, only if 2 clients show up, like this is going to be the best pop-up when they used to be pop-ups.
And we were busting at the seams with 30 people. And then we go into, I think the masterclass finished right before it. And then we left that Thursday. You almost had a private jet. Take me and you were like, we should just fly out tonight. Like, we're not going to make it the next day. And then it's like, okay, we had this massive launch. We go into that weekend and it's like, you feel a lot of tension. Then we're onboarding. It's like, we also have to get out, 75 gifts manually, right? And so it's like, okay, we're tracking.
We didn't have enough people to do some of the manual stuff that was required.
Yes.
In order to fulfill on things and all the other stuff that was on our plate.
Yes. And I think that was the first time of feeling like, oh, like we shouldn't, if we want to grow where we want to go and we know that the impact that we can make is out there, then like we have to bring in team, and it's really hard. And I think that having the core four for the beginning for how long we did was so important because it built the foundation.
It built the foundation and the standard of what work ethic looks like, what client success looks like, what I don't care what excuse you have under the sun looks like. Like I just told the team this morning on our team call, I was like, we're getting ready to head into another launch, and let me be absolutely clear, there's no room for excuses on anything. If we need something at 5 a.m., if we need something at 10 p.m., it's launch. Like this doesn't happen that often throughout the year. And so everybody dial in.
Yes. But the team, the culture of like the core people have been like, okay, we're just used to that, right? Like I don't even think that you need to say that because I'm like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Yeah. But why do I feel that way? Well, because I've had you, Nikki, and Gabrielle to always rely on is like, your team will only work as hard as you work. And so you have to set that. And then you get to a point where like, Nikki and Gabrielle and the team that we've added, but like Nikki and Gabrielle are dogs. I'm like, gosh, most people would wish to have an ounce of the talent that they have, but they are running their whole clinic and also coaching hundreds of people every single day. They're answering Circle. I'm like,
they never make an excuse. If we change a deadline, if Stephanie has a Stephanie moment and she's like, hey guys, so I know we just spent last meeting figuring this out. I've completely pivoted and changed my mind. Here's what we're gonna do. They never complain. And Alejandro either. Alejandro never complains about anything, but he's also a newer team member. And that's why we added him, because we're like, he's got the dog. We don't even have to interview him. We want him. He's alpha. He's gonna bring some energy to the crew, because it is important to maintain that culture. And we wouldn't be able to grow the way that we have without that internal conviction from the team. And that's something even Kyle, my husband, compliments me on, is he's like, your team is so bought in. But you know what I realized the other day? Do I ever refer to you as my staff? Never.
No, I don't think I've ever heard that. It like feels icky.
It feels gross. You're not my staff. I don't employ you. You're my team. Like, we're going to the fucking playoffs together. We're going to win the Olympian championship together. Like, we're going to win the NBA playoffs together. You're not my staff. You're my team. Like, I ride or die for you. You ride or die for me. And I think I was hearing several clients talk the other day, and even in some conversations that I've had with friends, and I'm like, oh, I never say my staff. I never say, maybe like, oh yeah, one of my employees is in charge of this, but it's like, it's my team. There's a different energy to that, and I've always referred to you guys as my team.
Yeah, because we're in the mud together. We're there together. And I think like when you're referring to the team, you were saying earlier, like the Nikki and Gabrielle, they have the dog. That became the standard. Is like, we knew that Alejandro was an immediate match, because I was like, when I think of who we're adding to the team next, I'm like, do they have the dog in them? You don't need a skill in operations or marketing or all the, like, if you have the dog in you, we can teach you anything. We add a little AI and like, you're off to the races.
Yeah. It's you can't change somebody's identity.
Yeah.
And
their character, I feel like, because their identity
can shift, but it's almost like their values.
Yes.
You can't change somebody's values. That's why our value at TWP, BDQ, is on there, because like, if you haven't overcame something in your life and you almost wanted to give up and you didn't, or you haven't been brushed up against your edge and then figured it the fuck out, you don't belong on my team, because every day we're going to be encountering something new that we have to overcome, that we have to push past. A limitation that is self-inflicted is going to be something that you're going to be brushed up against. If you haven't been through anything hard, you're not going to make it. And yes, your identity can shift. I mean, I think even just physically, and like how you lead your life is different drastically from the last 2 years, and so your identity has absolutely shifted, but your value of pushing through hard things is always who you were at your core.
100%. Yeah, because I never had the option. I had to always push through. And it's like, if someone were to come in, it's not, listen, like, if you don't have trauma, that's fine. I'm so glad that you don't, right? It could be like in the workplace, just overcoming something hard.
Well, I think of our recent hire, Justine.
Yes.
The reason that I knew that I wanted to hire, and the first person that I have ever offered a job during an interview on the spot, was because she had the values and the character traits that I loved. One, she went to a really good school. She was athletic. Just knowing that you played sports at a higher level means that you're willing to get your butt kicked. You're willing to get your butt handed to you and show up for practice the next day, right? I care about that. And then knowing that she followed her heart in an alignment with who she is and pursued a job. She had an amazing career at Morgan & Stanley, pursued a job outside of that because it wasn't aligned with her. I'm like, that is BDQ to the max, because you're going to keep going until you find what lights your heart on fire. And hopefully TWP is that for her, but that's why I hired her. It's not because she had the most skill sets inside of the role we are hiring for. And I think it's just important. We're not really going in order on the things in my head that I thought we would talk about, but it's also important, like, to get from 1 million to 5 million, it's not hiring somebody who can check off a list. It's hiring based on values and character and who they're going to be inside of a workday with you. And especially in a company that's growing really quickly, the workday is not going to look the same.
No. Not ever. And I think that if someone doesn't have the values, like, we're just going to eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner is what we're seeing, right? They're not going to be able to push through, because the expectations of a scrappy startup, like, I can't even say we're a coaching company. I'm like, we are a startup, right? Like, we are going to the freaking moon, but like, you can't have someone that's never been through something, because they're going to just crumble every single time. Exactly. Like, I think that scaling past 5 million is like, we have to be so intentional with the team members that we hire, because I think that the when I first began, and probably up until January, and maybe some of the hires this year, is like we wanted them to fit boxes. We wanted them to check, and it's like, let's bring them in and like give them what they need to be successful. And like that's where this year was a little bit tough, is like making a lot of hiring and firing decisions and quickly, right? It's like and this is where I would lean back on my corporate experiences, like board members, like you aren't a number, maybe to them, but it's like, what will move the company faster? And that's how I had to start thinking, is like, what's going to move the company faster? I had to think about every single time that I was like either laid off, and my layoff was a part of my first story. It was so hard, and I'm like, that was for me because I would not be here. And so even as with team members, it's like, it's for them, it's for their better good, right? Because we're going to bring in, and every single time I think of Toby, right?
Totally. I mean, Toby, we're obsessed with. But I think of before that, at the end of 2025, it was the first time we had to fire people that we genuinely liked.
Yes.
You know, that had been with us for a while. And I remember one of your first fires, you were like, Steph, I actually like her. And I'm like, I had to coach you through it. Yeah. And you're like, this is harder. There's no right or wrong. I'm like, the wrong is that she's not the right person in the right seat to get us to where we're going. And the longer we delay making that decision, the longer it's going to take us to get to where we want to go, the longer it's going to take us to hit our goals. And that was one of the hardest things, and one of your first fires being in this role.
Yeah.
And so even for me to know, to the founders listening, like I started offloading shit right away that I wanted no interest in, and hiring and firing was one of them. And because we don't have an HR manager yet, like that is a large portion of your role. And so one of your first fires that you had to do last year,
right when I came back from maternity leave.
Yeah, no, but I told everybody, I warned everybody. I said, listen, some of y'all ain't meeting the mark. And when Brandi gets back, she's firing all y'all. Y'all better get your shit together. And whoever did it is no longer with us. So
Nikki's still riding. Nikki's still riding. That is the point.
Nikki, Gabrielle, everybody, even though they were scared, which is hilarious, they cracked me up. But Nikki or Gabrielle would have to murder somebody in order to get kicked off this team. Like they're part of the core four. Like they're basically legacied in at this point. But that was a huge growth opportunity for you. And I almost took it from you. And I remember.
Shut up.
Well, because we were talking about it, and I was like, listen, I want you to here's what I did. I was like, I want you to decide, because this team member had a decently big mess up. And I said, I want you to decide if we keep her and we put her on a PIP, or if we let go of her immediately. And your decision was to keep her and put her on a PIP. And so again, as the founder, I wanted to build you up in your role. And so I wanted you to be able to have some of these decisions and make some of these decisions. And so we kept her. And every day since then, you regretted it. You were like, that wasn't the right thing. She did another mess up. She's messing up over here. She didn't take care of this. And I think it was like, if I would have robbed you of that experience of making that decision and then seeing the repercussions of that, you wouldn't be able to see it sooner now. And that's such an important thing for founders to realize as they're growing. You just want to step in and fix everything. And you're like, let me make this decision. I could do it better. I could do it quicker. It's like, I want you to grow alongside me. If I take away the experiences that are going to allow you to grow, you're never going to be able to step into a higher level for the company as a leader.
But for you, do you feel like the payoff there? Because I'm like, okay, I know that Stephanie thinks in speed. She wants it done yesterday. So it probably was a little hard to watch. I'm curious, like, what was your mindset of like, you just want to allow me the chance to grow? So that way, because you know, if you took it over, then it's like, I just have to learn that lesson in another 2 months or whenever I have to let go.
Exactly.
What was your mindset there?
No, it was delaying. Like because I wanted to see if it was the appropriate call too. Should we PIP her? I mean, internally, I was not feeling like that was a good idea, but I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Listen, I've been known to be like, nope, not it, done. I'm a Scorpio, so I cut people off sometimes, you know, you cross me, I'm done. I wanted you to learn that, but I knew that like that was gonna serve you in hiring and firing. Even if she would have been the right fit for the right seat and you kept her and you had pipped her and then she ended up doing better, you would have learned from that.
Yeah.
But whatever the experience was going to be, I wanted you to learn then so that you didn't have to learn it at this stage that we're at now. You're the one coming to me and being like, I think we should fire sooner.
You're right. But that's crazy because I don't even remember. That's like how quantumly fast that things are going, because I don't even remember that feeling there. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. You were like coaching me to be a leader and I had no idea.
But you know what? That's why I make the big bucks, because similar, like if you're listening to this, one, I don't think everybody has this skill set, but I coach myself, I coach my team. and then I coach my clients. And like you made a comment earlier, how I lead myself is the most important thing. We've learned as a team over the last 12 months, like Stephanie's energy is our ATM. Like how Steph feels, how her energy is protected at all costs is going to dictate how successful this company is. If there's aspects that Steph is doing that's draining and she's not in her zone of genius, we need to offload that from her as soon as possible. And, the team has been so happy to step up in that, especially our leadership team of like, what can we get off Steph's plate? So she's only in her zone of genius. She's out, she's making connections, she's being creative, she's coming up with content. I mean, I joke that like content is another full-time job for me now at this point, but the whole team takes that very seriously, I feel like.
100%, because we see that it brings you joy, and it goes back to like the energy thing, and even like bringing people onto the team. It's like, if you don't want to be around them and your energy is a drag, I'm like, they're done. Like,
but that's how you knew one of our most recent fires is because you were like, your energy changes when she walks in the room. I don't think we can have her on the team long term.
Correct, and even in interviews, because now I think I drill down and I ask a lot of value-based questions.
And you are so intense in interviews now. You are so intense. Like I got on a call and I was nervous. I was like, I am glad I am not being interviewed right now.
Yeah, we're sitting at your breakfast table. It's you, Kyle, and Jet. And I'm like, Vito, I'm just taking their breakfast time. But I'm like, I felt the pain of firing because you feel bad the first few times.
Of course.
And I felt the pain of that. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to keep doing that. So I'm going to interview people better. So they're not even at the table.
Speak a little bit about like the value interview questions that you're doing, because people hear that and they probably don't know exactly what that means.
Yes. So if I think of excellence as the baseline, that's one of our values. It's like, okay, what is a standard of your life, right? What is the standard that you have for your life and how are you showing up for it? BDQ, bitch don't quit, bro don't quit, is another one, because we're gonna have HR in a few months soon. I'm like, okay, tell me about a time that you had to overcome something, right? Because I want to hear from them how they've overcame. Steph talked on this earlier. Another one is, I'm like, they're
delusional optimism.
Yes, delusional optimism. Okay, but I think the obsession with obsessed with the mission at hand. So we want people that care about health and wellness for themselves. And so Justine comes to mind. And I'm like, okay, tell me about some of your own personal values. What do you like to do outside of work? Why do I want to know what she does outside of work? Because if I know what she's prioritizing in her personal life, then that translates, right? I know that she is a yoga teacher, or she just got her yoga membership. All right, so I know that she cares about her body. She was a previous athlete. And so asking those types of questions to get to the soul of someone is going to help you align them to the mission. And like, I can just immediately feel from their energy and their answers, like, okay, they didn't just make this up.
Totally. They're not just giving me a script response,
Yes.
because a lot of them, they don't anticipate some of these questions. It's like, where's
Yes.
your goals in 5 years? Tell me about yourself. It's like so fluffy. It's like, what do you need in an absolute killer to be on your team? And what are the values that you already have in team that you love and that you're like, okay, my number 2 right now has this, this, and this. I want to find more people like her because these are the values I care about the most. It's like that's the forefront of your mind when you head into an interview process, And so I think that that's really important. I also think, going from 1 to 5 million and where we're going in the future, one, I know that our growth triggers a few people, and then it's very few people because I think our growth actually inspires more people and they're like, ooh, I want a team like this. I want to be able to do what they're doing. What changes have you seen? Because again, you've had a front row seat to me particularly in the last 12 to 18 months. I remember last full send season, which is every October, that you and Nikki were like, oh my God, Steph, we don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like your outside is showing what is changing on the inner, right? And so often, like, one, you're a healthier version of yourself, right? I think you're healthier and you're happier. When I first came back from maternity leave is when I initially saw that click. It's like full send is always like this identity shift, right?
For everybody on the team.
Yes, for everyone. And that's where it's like you pull those stories from your own self. So I go from the first full send to this one, and I'm like, you're not even the same person. You're dancing on a rooftop, right? This is the thing that you talk about is like, show up as your future self now. You on that rooftop, you probably did not feel confident, but you're like, okay, I'm gonna show up as that person now. You were showing up, you're more confident, right? Your skin is so much thicker. And I think this is a big piece, is like, you can take what your community says, you can take what your patients say, you can take what your clients say, but kind of with a grain of salt, because you also have to trust. I think that this has been like, who is Stephanie at her core? Let me trust that voice inside of me. And then also hearing I think I hear in real time you processing, but it's stuff coming back from your childhood too of like, okay, why am I thinking like this? I think a story I think of massively is a story with your mom, right? Of how you've redeemed that story, because a year ago, I remember you were so annoyed with her, you were so frustrated, like, because you saw her potential and you were frustrated in who she was. And then you had a conversation like, I want you to be here, right? Like, and I could see God redeem that situation, but it was also like you had those hard conversations. And I'm like, wow, I can see stuff holistically changing. I think in your marriage, you and Kyle are like such a force. Seeing you guys freaking crush it. You have 5 clinics, to see him open up another one and you're supporting him in that, right? It's not just TWP growing. You're also supporting him along the way. And then it's like, okay, what type of mother do I want to be to Jet? What type of experiences? I think this year you've traveled so much with Jethro compared to the prior year. And it's like, you're doing even more, but you're giving him so much like for his life, and you're letting life also teach him while also paying for a Montessori private school, right? And so I've seen this version of you, and it's like you were just starting to embody that future self, right? That elevated self right now and into it. And so it's like I'm seeing you transform into this version that it's like you're going to call and inspire so many other people behind you, but you're going to inspire, like, you're speaking to who Stephanie needed years ago. And it is such a gift to watch. But I think the biggest thing is like seeing your outside and like you're confident. And I just feel like you're coming into every single year. It's like more of who you were divinely called to be.
Yeah, I feel that too. You know, in recent times, like every month that goes by, I feel like I'm becoming more who I'm called to be. And also, of course, that's an uncomfortable experience. Of course, that's not rainbows, butterflies, unicorns popping out of the sky. Of course, that like brings me to my knees sometimes. Of course, I wake up praying like, God, tell me what you want me to do today, because this feels harder than I thought it would, you know, like, of course, what did I expect? And also, I'm trying to do it while being a mom and a wife and like helping people and leading my team. There's a lot of self-inflicted pressure, but also there is an aspect that I know that everything I want is inevitable, and I truly fully believe that. And so I'm along for the ride, right? I'm along for who I'm supposed to become, the lessons I'm supposed to learn, the people I'm supposed to have relationships with, the people I'm supposed to let go and leave in the past versions of myself, the people I'm supposed to bring along with me. Like, I am 100% okay with that, because the last couple of years especially, I've gotten 100% okay with who I am. I know my values are in the right place. I know that everything I do is with good intentions. And so that's not always going to be perceived that way. And I've released the projections that other people want to place on me, what they think I'm supposed to do, how they think I'm supposed to act. You know, I want to be a permission slip for women, especially in motherhood, because they see me living this big life and bringing my son along. But I know there's people that judge my motherhood journey. Oh, she travels too much. Oh, she works too much, things like that. I'm not interested in that conversation. I think 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, am I traveling too much? Am I a bad mom? What does that mean? It's like, no, I'm building a life most people will never build. And that's going to require me to do things and make decisions that are going to get me closer to that. In every chance I can, I bring my family along for the ride. And there's times where Kyle has an opportunity to come and he's like, babe, I don't want to. I think Jethro and I should stay home. I'm like, great. You know, that's why I chose a partner who was going to support my dreams and his own dreams, and who cared about being a present father. Like, I don't have to make a ton of sacrifices because I designed my life in a way where I don't have to. The reason I want to even talk about this motherhood aspect of like growing the business is because, one, I don't think we would have the growth we had without having values at the forefront of it, having clear like understanding and like clear mindset about what it means to build, and 3, without having our personal lives dialed in. You know, often I see people try and grow. Kyle and I even talked about this, like, anytime we've had a business bottleneck, it's been a personal problem that we've had to fix. And so I love that even on our team meetings, you know, we're like, share business win, share personal win, because we get to know so much more about the people on our team, and we get to celebrate that. And the personal wins that they're sharing actually are more exciting usually than the business wins. Like, you're getting ready to buy a new house, Nikki's getting an investment property, Gabrielle's getting ready to run a marathon, a half marathon. Like, it's so important to celebrate those aspects too. But I think this piece of parenthood often sometimes can become the excuse for people is why they're not going to build or they're not going to continue to grow. But it's also like this beautiful initiation into mindset and self-worth. And so for me, in the first couple of years of Jet, I would feel like shame and guilt around things. But I realized I had set up this idea of what being a perfect mom was, and if I wasn't perfect, I wasn't good enough. But that's just the through line of my whole life.
Yes.
Is I have this whole life through line of, oh, I'm not good enough. It's a self-worth issue. And it was like, that was just showing up in parenthood. That's also shown up in the way that I've led team before, in calling in a really high quality team. And so again, to your point, I coach myself in real time because I always know whatever's triggering me, whatever's showing up is an internal issue for me to just go a few levels deeper. And so to wrap up this conversation and to really get the listeners to understand, what do you think you, as a number two, has had to get off of your plate in order to help the company continue to grow? Because we talked a lot about like getting hiring and firing off of my plate, delegating my energies, the ATM, but you as a number two who's helping me build this as well. What have you had to get off your plate?
Yeah, that has been probably the biggest struggle since coming back from maternity leave. And it's like releasing the doing, right? Now I have to delegate. I have to release like doing all the things and like really dig down into what do I actually not like to do? Because when I started, I had to do everything. And that's the reality of the business when you're small and scrappy. Now we're official. The business is not small whatsoever. So it's like, okay, what are the things that take up the most of my time? What are the things that I could easily just train someone else to do? And what are the things that don't bring me joy? And I think the joy question, because what I wanted in life never mattered. Why did it never matter? Because of my childhood. That's a whole thing, right? So that whole identity piece is going back to it. And so it's like, okay, I'm getting rid of the admin tasks. We're using AI for that, but we also hired a VA, Ira. We did not talk about her. Ira is a good hire. But getting
best VA.
Those things, marketing. I loved marketing, and that's like the voice that is so helpful that I think like you and I know your stories, so I can, but giving that to the marketing team so they can do the automations, right? I can give the vision for it, but getting those things off of my plate. And then events. I love being present in the events. I love the conversations with the clients. I don't love the details of them. I don't love the budget of it. Great. We just hired someone else from ops. They're going to help handle all of those things. And that helps me be able to take some things off of you and help drive the vision forward. And I think when I came back from maternity leave, I never thought I had a play in the vision until probably the last few months. Like, you're coaching me through things. I'm like, no, because I'm your brain. Now it's like the vision brain of like, and so I'm hearing the brain. And when I'm like, onboarding people, I'm so freaking fired up about like, this is where TWP came from. This is where Steph came from, and sharing that with and getting the team so
excited.
Hyped up. Yes. And so it's like, okay, now that that's off my plate, I get to focus on, and I kind of feel the joy reigniting because I realize all those small tasks that were so important were not bringing me joy. And so now it's like, we get to do content. I get to tell you, hey, we should do this hook, or like, hey, I get to spend 3 days onboarding new team members to set them up for success. I get to spend hours in Replit, 4 hours for one dashboard. Guys, 4 hours, it takes time. But like building these things so you understand, where does the business stand, where the leaks, right?
Well, and I think that's been a really easy, not easy, but like a really crucial part of me as the owner and founder is like having these dashboards and these reports in my inbox Monday morning at 9 a.m. Here's what's happening inside of marketing, paid ads, all of this. Here's how many leads. Here's what's happening inside of our financial projections. Here's what's happening with client success, client health. Here's where we need to dive deeper in. And those dashboards and reports for me as an owner has been so freeing, because I used to go looking for those numbers. I used to hit you up, hey, I need this, I need this, I need that. And then you would get distracted from what you were building. And so now we've really created systems and SOPs that are going to allow us to continue to grow with keeping a pulse on all the needle movers and the things that matter the most. And so I think for the founders listening to this, like, don't be afraid to go back to your team and be like, I need double the reporting. I need you to give me all these things that I care about so that I understand where we stand on a week-to-week basis, and I can stay in the visionary role.
100%. I think that something that I'm hearing and just like reflecting on our journey together is like, what got us here will not get us to the next point, right? And so I think when I first came back from maternity leave, and I still tell myself that every single day, because we have so many founders listening to this. It's like, what got you here is not going to get you there. And the same thing, you are going to have key people on your team that you want to bring along for the ride, and it is your job to coach them up. And so what a lot of your coaching has been like this isn't going to get us there. Just because we did this standard, that was the standard before, this isn't that. More you can adapt, and it's like every day I think like that. So it's like I'm more adapt to change, because you have to change rapidly. It's like we were doing the same thing for maybe a year, and now it's like our strategy is like 10x, especially with AI and all these systems changing. It's like we can even go further faster, but we have to change quickly and take quick action on those things, right? Like it can't take a week to get something done. It's like it should still be pretty quickly. And so it's just reminding ourselves, and as you're growing your business, just because it got you to this point doesn't mean it's not going to get, you have to switch your strategy.
For sure. I think we've been good at adapting, and again, bringing in more of that corporate infrastructure. Like we implemented EOS the last 6 to 9 months. That's really helped because it's getting the whole leadership team on board. And it's also just given us clarity on like where the holes are, where we need to spend more time and energy, because also growing really quickly, you can feel like everything's a priority, when in reality, it's like, here's the key systems that are actually going to move the needle the most. And I think that has been super beneficial. So if you loved this episode, let us know. If you want to hear more about what we're doing to build in real time, the pivots we're making, make sure you send me a DM.